Testing 1 2. 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 Divorce and traffic tickets. Yeah.
Okay.
Brett.
Everybody needs to move away from the camera here.
Food's all ready whenever you want.
Okay, just, yeah. Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm going to say a few words here, and we're going to have a little program that we're streaming on Facebook about Mike. And hello.
Big, you need this.
How's that?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you all so much for coming. I'm Mike's wife, Teague. And just some housekeeping. They're going to bring out some snacks here in a little while. All non-alcoholic drinks are on me. Just tell the bartenders what you want. I think they put out some water. Mike's daughter, Jennifer, brought some awesome souvenir cups with Mike's. Anyway, thanks again. I wanted to just say a few words. And I wanted to start with one of Mike's many, many, many favorite musicians, Prince. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to get through this thing called life. And to remember our friend Mike Sanders. I knew I was going to cry. So I was going to tell you some things about Mike and me. How we met online when he lowered his height limit below 5'7", and how we fell in love, and how we went out west because I got a really good job and he wanted to go with me on a big adventure, and how we had cool adventures out west since 2015 when we went out to the West Coast from Kansas City. And I wanted to tell you a little bit about how cool and interesting Mike was, but I know you know that. And some of you might have known how loving he was. But I'm not going to tell you about all those things, because when I was looking for those photographs that I put on those posters, I found an essay that Mike wrote on his computer I didn't know about. And he wrote it sometime in 2022 or maybe 2023, several years after he received a double lung transplant. He was diagnosed with what they call idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis in 2018, and he was dying. And he was saved by the gift of lungs by a grieving family, and that gave us 5 healthy years together. And we had adventures, and he bought a camper van, which he had always wanted, and we went all over and had so much fun together. So you're not going to get all my stories. What you're going to get is a homily that Mike wrote, and I'm going to read a little part of his, a little piece of this essay that he wrote. And this was, again, just a couple years ago, I think. But now, I no longer ask myself, is that all there is? I look at life differently. I try to absorb every moment, no matter how seemingly trivial, and no moments really are. To be present with every human I encounter and express love and empathy and perhaps make a difference in their day. To be without fear because I no longer fear death. And to live without anxiety because I now look at tomorrow as experiencing the joy of another day. Once you stop thinking just about yourself, you can experience the energy that has been radiating for billions of years through all forms of life. The goal is not to think about it. The goal is not to question it. The goal is to accept it and let it flow through you. In my humble opinion, that is all there is. And as the song says, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball. Thank you. Thank you so much. So that was some words of advice from Mike to you and me and all of us. So let's have a ball. And I'd like to welcome one of Mike's close friends, and this is a friend from the West Coast, Jeff Arthur, who also received the gift of life through a lung transplant. And he would like to just say a couple words to you all today. And we have a couple more people, and then we can, commence to dancing.
Hi there. So, that's really loud. My name's Jeff Arthur, and I only met Mike a little over 5 years ago, as Teague said, in the hospital at University of Washington. Mike had gotten his lung transplant just the day before me, and I met him in the halls. They encourage you to get up and walk around as much as you can after transplant. And I'd walk around and I'd look at all the nameplates on the people's rooms, and I'd look for Dr. Mulligan, who's the thoracic surgeon who did all of our transplants. And I came across Mike, and I went into his room and introduced myself. And then I met him, in the hallways several times after that, walking. And then I co-chair the University of Washington Lung Transplant Support Program, which Mike is a part of. And we'd have monthly meetings, so I'd see him in our meetings. And then some point along the way, a couple of years ago, he invited me to join a movie group, which I met a bunch of Mike's friends from college and high school before. So unfortunately, I didn't get to meet Mike, growing up, as most of you guys did. But I wanted to talk a little bit about organ donation. And I looked up some statistics just this morning online. But so in 2023, there were 46,000 organ transplants performed in the United States. And that seems like a lot. Most of those are kidneys, but quite a few livers and hearts and lungs as well. But there are 103,000 people on the waiting list, waiting for organs. A lot of those, again, are kidneys. But as Teague said, Mike was given 5 additional years of life with Teague and his family and friends, which is amazing. And I also looked up how many people in Missourians, I guess, are registered organ donors, and you guys are doing really great, actually, 72.5%. So I was really happy to see that. So if any of you are not organ donors, please become one. You can go on organdonor.gov and sign up, whatever state you live in. You can go on there and sign up to be an organ donor. Each person who passes away who's an organ donor has an opportunity to save 8 people's lives just through their organs, their kidneys, their lungs, their heart, liver, all that. They can also affect up to 75 more people through tissue donation or cornea transplants, and ligaments, and all kinds of parts that are reusable. So you can really not only save people's lives, but really vastly improve their lives. So I just wanted to say that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, Jeff. Jeff was a huge support to Mike also in his recovery, and just it was a wonderful friendship to have for Mike. I also forgot that I wanted to put in a plug for Mike. Some of you may well, many of you maybe, that Mike spent 10 years making documentary radio shows that he called Blues Quest, about artists, American artists that he thought were either interesting blues artists or interesting blues-related artists. And he donated all of those shows to the Marr Sound Archives at the University of Missouri-Kansas City Libraries. And he did all this last year. He got them all together, all the masters that he had, and he also donated over 200 interviews with artists, many of whom are dead, that he was interested in, the raw interviews about their lives and experiences and influences. And those are also at the Marr Archives at the UMKC libraries. And so if anyone is moved to make a financial remembrance of Mike, I would suggest that you make it to the Marr Archive for the Mike Sanders Blues Quest collection to support that collection, and perhaps we'll help them. They're available to listen to at the archive, but someday hopefully they get them available online so people can access them more easily. Some of Mike's close friends are also here, and a couple were kind enough to agree to say a few words. Jeff Copeland and Gary Whitaker, and I'm not sure who's, you want to come first, Jeff? Thank you so much.
Well, I unfortunately don't have anything wonderful to say about organ donation or anything, but I was a friend of Mike's, and it's hard to describe what he gave to me. He met me, or we met each other at a church camp in about 1968, and I was from way up in the north of Missouri, and he just kind of adopted me, sort of, and said, come on down, I'll show you things in Kansas City. He took me to the jazz festival, and he taught me a lot about culture that I wasn't getting in my small town, if you can call Firesign Theater culture, I guess. Anyway, I did not pick up on some of the tough things he was going through as a kid. He didn't really let on that any of that stuff was happening, but that was just typical of him. He didn't complain about things like that. In college, we both ended up in Columbia and Mizzou, and we crossed paths with each other in the sort of the so-called Rosemary Bass group. That was a house, or a couple of houses that were close to each other. We went back and forth and had a social group that was loosely organized, but really a lot of fun. He lived with one of my friends from my hometown for a while, and one of my other close friends. They were roommates at one time or another, so there's a lot of cross-pollination going on at that time. He did move away from Columbia, and I eventually did myself after way too long, but we kept rare contact, and I went to see him once in Warsaw, and also after he moved to Kansas City, sort of randomly. I didn't know he was getting ready to move far away, but I called him and we had a nice meeting. And the thing that struck me about that was Mike is one of those guys that you cannot see for years, and then you go back and meet him, and it's like no time has passed. It's all right there.
Friendship does.
Yeah. I think it's already been mentioned, but several of us went out to visit Mike before he passed. He had formed a movie club during the time of Zoom, during the time of COVID, on a Zoom format to kind of bring us all together, because people were feeling kind of isolated and not getting out much and so forth. And so it was an opportunity for a bunch of the college guys who knew each other to get together. And that's just the kind of stuff he did. He would bring people together and was giving and smart about things. And I learned a lot about movies and a lot about people, and made some new acquaintances. It's another one of those great things that he did. Teague has already referenced that essay that Mike wrote, and that really touched me as well. It kind of reminded me a little bit of David Foster Wallace's thing about "This is water." I don't know if people have read that or not, but it kind of is, get your perspective right, understand what's valuable, and lose your fear about dying, and lose your fear about all the other little things, but appreciate your day-to-day life. So, I do know that he will live on in this world and through our memories, but also that he is out there in the universe. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to raise this up a little bit. Well, I don't want to break it, though. First of all, Teague, thanks for the invitation and a chance to talk about Mike and tell some stories, some which may have the added benefit of being true. As I was thinking about this, I think of Mike as a man of chance. He took many chances, but he gave many chances. And one of the chances he took was with me. I met him in a French class at the University of Missouri. You have to take foreign language to get into journalism school. And we had a 7:30 in the morning class, which tells you something about both of us, that we would somehow get up that early. But I'm a hillbilly from Southwest Missouri, and he was the son of a police detective in Kansas City. He played soccer, which, you know, if you're from Springfield, Missouri, that's a very exotic international thing to do. But he took a chance and gave me a friendship that lasted a lifetime. And one of my favorite memories is he was not only going to school, we both had jobs, but he was working in the appliance section of a Kmart, working and making commission. And I was just an hourly, radio reporter, but I thought it was very sophisticated and cosmopolitan. He was a salesman, earning commission. So I was enamored of him, and he took me under his. He said, "I'll show you around." So like Jeff, I'll give you culture. And, so one of the things our French teacher did, I would do, and Mike Mahoney, he was on the radio with me. I worked mornings, Mike worked in the afternoon, so I would go do the morning news and then run off to French class. And my French teacher found out about it and started asking me in French what was the news of the day. So I had to figure out what that was. So I remember one day Lyndon Johnson had passed away, and in French, what's the news of the day? And all I could come up with is LBJ est mort. That was good enough. But one day she said, "Monsieur Whitaker, fumez-vous l'herbe?" Oh, what? And Sanders goes, "She's asking you if you smoke grass." Oui. So he took that and planned a birthday party that included our French teacher, but it also included an ad in the school paper, the Man-Eater, for somebody to jump out of a birthday cake naked. And he found her. But he made this giant birthday cake, and the top of it was a cake, but the rest of it was just kind of cardboard. So to make it look like icing, he covered it with shaving cream. And our house smelled like Noxzema for forever. But he and I ended up being friends, but we also ended up being roommates. One of the houses we lived in, Bob Farmer was our landlord, and we had a ping pong table. And so while we were getting to be friends and learning from each other about music and literature, we would go down and play ping pong. And I think of those ping pong games as sort of the conversations we had. They just went on forever and ever, but we were good at going back and forth and staying in touch with each other. And we ended up having sort of parallel careers. I ended up in TV news, radio and TV news. He ended up in radio and TV news. And so he took a chance. One of his claims to fame, I said he was a man of chances. He took chances and gave chances. One of his stories, he wrestled a bear on TV. So he gave the bear a little bit of notoriety, but he took an ass whipping from the bear. I moved to Jackson, Mississippi. He moved to Jackson, Mississippi. He went to work for a radio network, and I did too. He was in one TV station, I was at another, and so we kind of reconnected there. I got there first, so he was sleeping on my couch at the time. While in Mississippi, he took a leap. He got married, and married a single lady with a couple of daughters who didn't have a dad. He became the dad and gave Jennifer and Amy love that they had not had before, which is an example of, he takes the chance and then he gives back. In Kansas City, he took the chance and came back to Kansas City to work in TV, eventually working himself up to be the executive producer of the investigative unit at KCTV. And the TV Academy honored his work with an Emmy. They did a series on dangerous highway construction, and he took that assignment and made the most of it and gave the families and the victims a voice of what had happened to them. So he was awarded for his work there. After his TV career, he took the chance to teach journalism at the University of Central Missouri, and so he gave a whole new generation the benefit of his experience. He took chances and then he gave back. And as Teague mentioned, he took his love of the blues and gave that music genre new life. I think he was convinced that there were a bunch of blues musicians who hadn't received their due, and he wanted to make sure before they went into blues heaven, that their stories were told, their music was told, and now, and it ended up on nearly 40 radio stations and multiple countries around the world. So he took an idea like that, something that he cared about, and gave it his all, and gave that gift to the rest of the world. In the end, Mike took a leap. He married Teague. He took a leap, got a lung transplant, had an extra 5 years, and I wanted to tell some stories of, from my perspective, he was somebody who was always willing to take a chance on people, and then turn those chances into gifts back to people, whether they were stepchildren or friends or colleagues or listeners or viewers that he might not know. I still have a hard time believing that he's not here. Mike's the friend who, when you get a new job, you call, or when you get married, you call, or when you get fired, you call, and he will listen. And I'm going to miss that man who was willing to take a chance on me and give me a 50-year friendship. So, Mike, thank you.
Okay. We have a couple more. Huh? Oh, okay. We have a couple more friends of Mike that have very kindly prepared a few remarks. Katie McGuckin and Chris Pearson. Oh, Katie, there you are. Hi, come on up, Katie.
No, it's me. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for raising the microphone. I went to high school with Mike, and I'd like to thank Chris for asking me about a month ago if I'd participate in talking about Mike while he was in high school. And big print, so don't panic. I also have visual elements to Mike's story, so we'll just prop it up right there. All right, come here, toilet. There we go. Mike Sanders was an amazing human, and he was part of the 1971 class of North Kansas City High School. Now, if you were friends with Mike, you knew if he ever posted on Facebook, you saw his humor and his love for the blues. But before Facebook and social media, all we had was passing notes in the hallway and also quick conversations. I remember very distinctly that Mike and I would talk on our way from the main building in North Kansas City to DAG, which was an old, almost to be torn down building that we had high school classes in. And so we would talk, and in the winter at that time, women or girls were not allowed to wear pants. So we had to wear skirts in 20-degree weather with a 45-mile-an-hour wind. And I was always walk over with Mike doing this, and he goes, you know, you ought to wear long johns. I said, well, Mike, I'm not allowed to do that. But Mike, he not only used his mind, but he used his feet, and they talked about it. He was so active in soccer intramurals. And Mike used his strength of character to be friends with a lot of members of our class. It didn't matter if you were a sports standout, a member of the orchestra or the band, a theater geek like what I was, or on the cheer team or the science club. Mike made everybody feel like they were important and they belonged. And he used his creativity as being the co-editor of the Per Goal. Right sitting over here, in his senior year, Mike wrote a poem. And it's a picture of him, the back of him in black and white, on page 7 of that yearbook. And he wrote in my book, Katie, you're one hell of a crazy and talented gal. You deserve to be the class craziest, whatever they call it. Oh, class clown. I'll see you in the future. So I want to show you what Mike did as co-editor of the Per Goal. please notice this page. Okay? I want you to all keep that in your brain. This is a piece of his work. Now we'll set that down and I will explain it to you. I started laughing so hard when I found that page because I realized it was Mike. On one page, you see those headlines. I mean, they're just blank boxes. But it says, new to NKC was the Satirical Procrastinator Society dedicated to the principle of delay. And under each box was written the following. Box 1. Procrastinators claim worldwide membership. Okay. Next box. Mike Sanders and Jim Hay direct a meeting that nobody attended. Bottom right, the procrastinator's emblem of nothing done. It was absolutely hilarious. And that's the kind of Mike humor that we always knew. And he made the class of 71 very proud when he delivered the invocation at our commencement. And I did see Mike in the future. High school didn't end there. We both went to be part of the Kansas City media. And he was part of a very special brotherhood. I feel like I should bow my head because some of those people are here. He was part of the brotherhood of Troutathon and line confabulation. But let me explain.
Oh, yeah.
Raise your hand if you're a Piscatorian. There they are, all back there drinking beer. In 1985, 3 Kansas City men decided to go trout fishing on the White River in northern Arkansas. It was a 3-day weekend. One of them was my brother, the late Brad Richmond, who was a cameraman for KCTV5 where Mike worked. They talked about that. Now, aside from their love of fishing, like most fishermen, they had a real gift for bullshit and consuming cold malt beverages. The combination of those talents created what became the annual Troutathon and line confabulation. And each year, they saw the Troutathon Brotherhood grow exponentially by invitation from current members. Mike was, of course, one of those members, and by the 10th year of this event, that's right, 10 years, there was no less than 20 men in attendance. Some of them came as far away as Europe. Now, the pursuit of trout was the goal of everybody who attended, but a true piscatorial bonding was the real motive. And if you don't know yet, piscatorian is a fisherman, hence the name, the Troutathon and line confabulation. So I'm going to condense this story, and let me see now that it was a real fishing competition with the winner determined by the most trout by weight at the end of the Troutathon. And the winner received, put a hand over mine, the coveted title of Grand Kahuna, a cheap trophy, and a judge's gavel to wield for the next entire year. And Mike attained that envious title. His victory was helped that year by, here's where it gets interesting, hiring a local fishing guide, unbeknownst to any of the other Piscatorians attending that year. And you should know that this was a flagrant violation of Troutathon rules. Now, while his illegal guide on the river, and they come up on a shallow part of the river, visible through the clear White River water, Mike spotted a huge, dead brown trout. Now, Mike, being the thinking person that he was, grabbed the nearest oar in the boat and retrieved the huge, dead trout. he was kind of like dying, and scales were falling off by the time he got it, by the way. Now, returning to the cabins at the White River, he proudly displayed the trout to everyone. They were in awe, okay? He explained to everybody something to the effect, my husband tells me, because he was part of that fishing trip, bite me. Okay, now we fast forward to the end of the troutathon where Mike wears the Grand Kahuna crown. Now each year the Piscatorian families, we all get together, and he had to host it one year because he was the Grand Kahuna. And he had a fishing pond in Pleasant. So everybody brought their families, there was lots of fishing going out, and the wives who were standing there watching all of this, I asked one time, what do you think this trout costs us? And we decided it was about, $100 per pound is what that dinner cost us. But this is really the most important thing I want to talk about Mike and his fishing abilities. Did you know that the troutathon was celebrated at the White House during President Clinton's term? Yeah, you can say, ooh, very good. And I'm going to explain. You see, Clinton was in Kansas City doing a town hall meeting at KCTV5 where Mike worked and a few other Piscatorians worked. They're back there. They decided to create and present Clinton with the honorary Grand Kahuna framed proclamation. Okay, now we fast forward. And one evening, while watching the news on TV, my husband calls me. Actually, he shouted to me, "You gotta come and see this." I said, "What is it? What is it?" He said, "Bill Clinton is giving Tom Brokaw a tour of the White House, and he just pointed to the Grand Kahuna proclamation hanging in the hallway of the White House." And Bill says, and turns to Tom Brokaw, "I'm really proud of this. This was given to me by a fishing club from Arkansas." Yeah. Well, let that sink in. Mike, of course, was one of those that created this proclamation. Barney McCoy is back there, and I'm sure he worked there, so he might be able to reveal us with more secrets. And I haven't even gone into the fact that at the troutathon there were ministers of food, ministers of poker, minister of alcohol, and some I can't even mention because there are small children in this room. So, Mike, thank you for the proclamation. And I think you'd be proud that maybe that proclamation is now in the Clinton Presidential Library. We've decided that we're going to go on a trip down there to find out. So I'd just like to say, bless you, Mike, from all of your family, your friends, and your fellow Piscatorians. Thanks for letting me be a part of this too.
Well, thank you, everybody. That was all that I had planned, unless somebody else has something to say. They should have some snacks out there for everybody if you're hungry. Help yourselves. If they run out, we can put out more. Thank you again for coming. I have a little notebook that I would just love to have signed, or if you have anything to write in it, please feel free. It would be a nice memory of the day for me and his family. Thank you again for coming.
You don't want to nap. You don't want to force nap.
You don't really hear that.
How's the missus? Huh? She mobile?